Alright. Well, alright, what we're talking about tonight is the RC4 wheel drive Gelande 2 cruiser LED light set. Obviously, everybody loves the kit because it's super scale, looks amazing. As an actual driver, it's not good. The thing's so top heavy, it's bananas. You're not going to go use it as your regular crawling rig, but I love it to death because it just looks amazing. All the finish work, details, machine work on all the metal parts, everything is just absolutely amazing on it. Great, like, just scale trail truck, but you're not going to go out crawl a SCX 10.2 or anything like that with it. You can forget any of those ideas. But it doesn't come with the LED light kit, and the thing runs, I think, $500 to $550. It doesn't come with the LED light kit, but it's fully designed to have the LED light kit installed. Every single one of the lights is on the body is pretty much designed to have an LED fitted into it, and they make the LED light set for it. It's only like $17.99. The light kit is super cheap. It just taps into receiver power, so it has the regulated, I think, 5.5 or 6 volts or whatever comes off of the BEC for the cruiser, and then it's pretty much plug and play. You zip tie a couple wires there, and you have the whole thing. Unfortunately, the way they designed the wiring harness for the lights is absolutely ridiculous. They take the power from the receiver, then it plugs into a harness that goes up into the body. So you put the whole main harness in the body, and obviously you have to screw in every single one of the little retainers for every single one of these LEDs. So the harness is very much affixed to the body, and then another connector comes back off of the body harness to plug into another chassis harness to feed the 4 rear lights. It's absolutely ridiculous. They should have had the resistors needed to run these rear lights in a small harness that stayed on the chassis, so there was just a 2-pin harness to connect to the body to power all the body lights. It's like common sense, I would assume normally. So you end up with this really weird harness with 2 connectors on it, and then you have to plug, the 2 connectors have to be plugged from the body to the chassis every time you put the body on. And then the other thing was really, I thought was a bit ridiculous, was both the males were on one side. I think both the males were on the body side, and both the females were on the chassis side, and they were both the same type of like 3-pin, basically servo style connector. So you had a chance of mixing them up. Like they were literally the exact same connector, but you can't interchange them because one of them has the resistors to feed the rear lights built into it, and whatever. So you had to make sure that you hook these things up correctly, and the possibility of mixing them up and then just burning out half your LEDs really quickly was just absolutely stupid. But the lights that they chose for the kit and everything, they were perfect. They fit in, they bolt in well. It's just whoever did the wiring harness had absolutely no idea what they were doing, or had never just dealt with a car, whatever. So basically, I took apart I cut apart the harness, and I usually build my own LED systems. I have my own, I have bins of the LEDs for days. It's not a problem. It's just at $17, all the resistors, all the math already worked out, plug and play. It's really not, on paper, it's not worth your time to do your own LED system. Especially because some of the LEDs are not common ones that you would buy. Especially these little side marker ones are really super big. They're not even 3mm. I think they're 2mm, like tapered down LEDs that just, so they're not ones that even, like, as much stuff as I have, I don't even typically have those particular LEDs. So I think the LED kit's worth buying, but the wiring harness was fitted so poorly, I pretty much had to start from scratch. So basically, I'm just going to cover what I did to make it actually practical to where it works. You can put it on and off, and every time you have to take the body off, you don't have to think it's an absolute complete nightmare to do it. So I don't know how well this will show up on camera, but basically I combined the entire thing. Instead of having all these weird connectors that were in this super tight rear suspension area where the ESC is and everything is in the back of the car here, trying to connect those two and then feed the body onto the chassis and keep the wires out of the way of the ESC and the body, and every single time was an absolute nightmare. So I rerouted all the wires, brought the body harness up to a 4-pin connector here. So this simulates basically the 1 2-pin connector that went to the body, and then the one that came back out of the body to feed the chassis. I rewired them all to a 1 4-pin connector. And this is just a 3S battery balance port extension cord that basically I cut into 2 pieces to use the 4-pin connector out of it. So you disconnect that, that's your entire light harness for the entire vehicle now. So you can literally put the entire body on very easily, put the pins in. You know, I've seen people unscrew the screws every single time they take the body off. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's not that hard. You put the body on. It's not that hard to get the body pins in here. Just do that. I don't know what people are doing there. So you put the body on. You know, connect your battery. Put the body on. Turn on the ESC, or put the battery in. Turn on the ESC. Get everything functioning with the controller. Pop the body on. Put your connectors in, and then literally I've got it down to where your entire light kit is. That's it. You can just push the wires up like that, and you're good to go. And everything works. It's good to go. I'm gonna pull it off to show some of the other revisions I do to make this work. So disconnect that, pop the body off, and then so I did have to change some of the wiring for the body harness. So I took some pieces of styrene and glued them to the side of a JST connector and made them to where that so it was a little bit taller, so it could go down and then the wires could bend out. And then I CA'd, glued it first, and then just for an extra little protection, I poured a little hot glue around it, also to keep the wires from wiggling, to keep wires from breaking after I was done with that. And then cut the wires to the rear harness, because the resistor pack used to sit somewhere around here, it's all up here now. This is just the factory resistors that come with the kit. They're up here. So I cut those, extended the 2 rear light harnesses, the 2 rear light wires from the body, glued them around here, extended them up here, and then glued them here. The wiring harness on the front, every single wire from the front bundles down. There's a resistor pack, and it comes all the way down to 2 wires, and then that wire is normally supposed to run all the way back to the resistor pack. So instead of cutting that and soldering them and rejoining them, I just zip tied them, bundled them up here, because I'm pretty sure, I've been looking at this, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to cut here at some point and cut here at some point and put in 2-pin connector, and then 1 2-pin connector here, so I can disconnect the wiring harness here, here, and here to lift the interior set out of the vehicle for whatever modifications I might want to do inside there, and then whatever, and that'll work. So basically that's what I did. I'm not sure how well that's going to all show up on camera, but it was basically just a matter of extending and shortening wires, and then figuring out which wires were the main power feed from the receiver, which I did the first red and black wire, and then the wires that were supposed to feed back out to feed the rear LED harness are these 2 black wires. And then I just made them all fit inside the body, and every once in a while when I would be running the wires, tack them in place, make sure they fit well, I'd put the body back on and make sure that the wires of the body or anything wasn't interfering with something on the chassis. So I had plenty of room, because it was getting to the point where I was afraid, I didn't even want to drive this car, because it was a literal nightmare just to put the body on and connect the wires to it. And I mean, it is not as good as it handles or drives or anything, because it is so top heavy. It's still super fun because it's so scale, but when it becomes that big of a project just to put a battery in the car, you find yourself not wanting to even drive it. So this is what I did. So it literally, I've got to smooth it out this well to where it's literally take it, I've already got the battery in and connected, receivers on, put the body on, put it on. It's pretty easy to get the body clips in now, not that big of a deal. Plug in this connector, and then all the LEDs are working. It's so much easier now that I actually I want to drive this again. It got to the point where I haven't even driven this thing in 3 weeks, because every time I saw it I was like, I'm just gonna grab the TRX4 or something else, because it's just I'm not looking for a project. I was just looking for something to play with for 15 minutes, or to drive down the block to, I'm in an apartment complex where my mailbox is 2 blocks away, so I'll fire up a car to drive down to the mailbox or whatever. And I just find myself not even touching this thing, because I wasn't looking for a chore. I was just looking for something to play with for 10-15 minutes. So anybody that buys this LED kit, I highly recommend actually still buying the LED kit. It gives you a lot of the stuff you need that wouldn't be practical to source separately, but I think you'll have a much better time with it if you spend the time and extend the wires as needed. And if you do a lot of this RC stuff, I highly recommend that you buy just bulk small wire. I think this is 24 gauge speaker wire that I bought. I bought 250 feet of it for, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 bucks. This, and then just a bunch of heat shrink that works for the same size. And I mean, it's pretty cheap, and you'll use it for a long time to come, and it'll make your projects go so much smoother just having that stuff on board. If you build a lot of your own LED kits, I mean, you can buy just bins of hundreds and hundreds of LEDs off of eBay, super cheap too, and obviously all the resistors and everything needed. I don't know, just having the supplies makes the project go a lot smoother, just especially if you're doing a lot of this stuff. But if you're just doing a one-off, buy this LED kit and just find some small wire. I don't care if it's phone wire, as long as you secure it. I usually use hot glue and just secure it with a little dab of hot glue every once in a while. Even solid core wire, which isn't super strong, if it's secured properly the inside of the body to where it's not being constantly wiggled, will work just fine. But with a little revision, they could have made this light kit 1,000 times better, but I can't really complain, because I think I'm pretty sure the whole LED light kit was $17.99. So that is what it is. If you have any questions about any of the light situations on the RC 4-wheel drive cruiser, let me know. I'll try and answer in the comments. Thanks.